Here, you want?
Yeah.
One more little tidbit from Lance.
Because this ink is oil-based, as long as we don't mix the inks together, we can put them back in the can. And so,
Let's get a better view of this.
and if you mix up a bunch of ink for a project that it's a custom color, then you know, you can wrap it up in tin foil and the ink will stay wet for weeks, if not months. So,
Is this, as far as this ink compared to the last ink?
put the little plastic back on the top of the ink after you.
Good call.
There's little plastics or wax papers in here.
Are, as far as these inks versus the regular green inks that we use usually, are these more expensive? Like, do we need to be more conservative with this material?
They're much more expensive.
Okay, cool.
A giant jar of screen ink is the same price as this little jar of relief ink. This will go a lot farther though, because the layer is very thin and there shouldn't be a ton of waste.
But just emphasizing using a small amount.
Use a small amount. And then when we go to clean up, my thing for cleaning up is the razor window cleaning knives are really ideal for getting the ink up. This is plexi, so this is not as nice as it is in the printmaking lab where the slabs are glass. It's really easy to clean. You just have to be a little careful not to gouge the heck out of them. But we have a lot of plexi, so if you wreck it, it's not a big deal. But this is how you want to get up all the extra ink, or you know, first, and then once that's done, then the rest of the cleanup will be spray bottle. This is Mr. Clean, and in theory, this should dissolve with the Mr. Clean. We're gonna find out. It does, just like it says on the tin. So it'll clean up with Mr. Clean and paper towels. Same thing with the roller. Spray the roller down with Mr. Clean.
So it's not a sink situation.
You might want to rinse the roller off in the sink when you're done, just to get the last of the...
But you're not taking this whole thing to the sink, you're doing this first.
Yeah, you want to get it all off, because it's still oil-based. It's like vegetable oil. It's I think it's soybean oil. And so it's like cleaning up a messy, you know, oily kitchen mess, where it's the Mr. Clean and this. Get as much as you can off of it before like finishing anything up in the sink with running water or anything. So
cool.
And then the blocks, the reason we're polyurethaning the blocks is so that we can protect them a little bit from the water. So that if
are you spraying this to get that off as well?
Yes, we will. We'll spray the blocks with Mr. Clean as well. But we want to be careful not to like really immerse the blocks in water. But again, we want to probably polyurethane the blocks just to, and over time we may decide not to, I don't know. It's probably we'll get better prints without polyurethane, because just ink to wood will probably produce a better print. But because we're kind of rough and tumble, we may just want to polyurethane things, particularly if we're going to be like printing a long run of something out in the field, or using the same block over and over and over again. Just because the water eventually is going to warp the blocks.
Do you think that the poly and the oil will interact in a weird way? Do you think that because the way that the wood's holding the ink now versus the wood after it's been polyed holding the ink?
Yes.
It could.
I think they won't interact the same.
Okay.
I think that the ink will stick better to the bare block than it'll stick to the poly.
Okay.
Would be my expectation. There's more porosity there.
Yeah.
But it's also going to be harder to clean. So if you want to change colors, you know, the wood's going to hold the tint of the ink a lot more than the poly will. But like for instance, for Disability Pride, if we want to do something where it says Disability Pride, we want to be able to change colors. We'll want a poly probably. But if you're doing a set of blocks and you know that one block's always going to be green and the other block's always going to be brown, then we probably don't have to poly. Okay. It just becomes more rugged with the poly, but it probably doesn't print as good with the poly. So it's a trade-off. I'm sure it's a trade-off. Yeah. But that said, I don't know, we'll find out. I mean, I haven't
Tested it yet.
I've done a lot of printmaking and I've done relief printmaking, but it wasn't my area of focus.
What?
Isn't this your thing?
I'm sorry, one more
Are
time.
you relief?
I do lino cuts.
Oh. So not that.
Which, like, I think would help mitigate some of the problems of, like, the staining.
Yeah. Yeah,
But-
the linoleum might be less absorbent.
Yeah.
We would just have to, if we were gonna switch, we have quite a bit of this, birch ply in this thickness. And so, you know, this setup is all contingent on this thickness of wood with that thickness of backer. And so if we switch materials, so for instance, Ty, if we were to use like the thin sheets of linoleum, we would want to, we'd have to refigure out what the layers were to build up to the right height.
Yeah, that's fair.
And so, but we still have quite a bit of this and it cuts gracefully in the cutter.
Well, with the thin layers of linoleum too, though, we can glue it to these wood blocks.
We could, as long as we had figured out there's calipers back there.
Yeah.
And so we can figure out what the height needs to be, you know, to kind of be the same.
It's gonna be a little bit of finagling, but I think we'll figure it out. We can figure it out.
Yeah, and linoleum will cut fine in the laser as well.
Mhm.
I don't think there's anything in the relief grade linoleum that plays poorly with the cutter. It might be a little dirtier than the wood, might cut a little cleaner than the linoleum.
I
It
can
might
see that.
generate more ash because there's more intermediary stuff in it.
Yeah.
So, any other questions? Let's make a bunch of blacks. My hope is that in the